And we're live early. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of This Week in Real Estate, hosted by yours truly. My name is Ray, a bearded man of real estate, and we are 2 hours early from normal. So if you had your alarm set, you're going to be very upset. So don't set your alarm. Don't put it on your personal calendar. Go to YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell so that you'll be notified of whenever we go live, even if we go live at weird times, just like we're doing right now. I'm taking a trip to Tennessee, so I'm leaving right after the show, and I'm headed to Tennessee to speak at a little conference about AI, ChatGPT stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. For those of you who watch Severance, I'm displaying the book cover, The GPT You Are. It's a play on Severance, so I'm excited about it. But welcome. We got a lot of stuff to cover today. There's actually a lot of real estate news this week, so I'm glad I was able to do the show. We're going to be talking about NAR executive compensation and how it stacks up against real estate agents. That's where the headline came from. 87% of real estate agents fell while NAR execs get rich. We're also going to be talking about investors. They're offloading a ton of properties. Is this a problem? And then we're going to be doing a little bit of economic stories towards the end of the show. We did have a jump in the number of mortgage applications. So we'll be talking about all of that jazz. So thanks, everybody, for joining. And, without further ado, why don't we go ahead and get into it? Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, if you are joining us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram, you can comment and I can display your comment or give you a shout out. On Instagram, I'd have to give you a shout out, but everywhere else, I can actually display your comment and talk about you, or just talk about your comment. I don't anticipate having a ton of engagement today since I am 2 hours earlier than normal. But normally during the show, one of the reasons why I say we, it's just me. But one of the reasons why I do it live is to get the engagement from you guys, commenting about the articles, talking about what's going on in your markets. Last week, if you missed the show, go back and either watch it on YouTube or download it from the podcast stuff. But we had a little market minute. So after I covered the industry news, we went into a market minute where people from all over the country shared what was happening in their market. And they were sharing what was going on in their individual housing markets. And then we talked about a couple of news articles and just basically said, is this accurate? Is this not accurate? So I thought that was a good little, I like doing that every now and then just to kind of touch base and say, okay, here's where we are. All right. Well, speaking of where we are, that's actually not a terrible transition. I thought it was going to be worse. We could talk about who we are. Get it? Because that's the thing. That's what they do. All right. Well, NAR. Let's talk about the executive compensation because those numbers came out and were recently reported. I don't know why it's always 2 years late, but we always get it 2 years late. So we're going to be talking about the 2023 filing for the National Association of Realtors finally being public. And this is covered on Broke Agent Media. Inman used to cover this stuff, but I didn't see anything about these salaries or executive compensation on Inman at all. But if you recall, this is back when old Bob Goldberg was a CEO, and he was CEO through November 17th, 2023, in which he pulled down a nice healthy salary of $3,002,748, and then got $56,976 in non-salary compensation. So, I mean, I guess my question is it worth it? If you recall, in 2023, we were in the middle of a major lawsuit that would change everything forever. And the CEO of NAR was making $3 million. Katie Johnson, who's the general counsel and chief member experience officer, 1.1 million. I feel like, I mean, okay, we're cynical now, but we lost the lawsuit. Katie Johnson was general counsel and chief member experience officer. I feel like the member experience officer is what you give someone on your team that's like trying to make sure your clients are doing well. Like I'm going to make sure the clients are having a good experience. It's not generally like a real lofty position. I mean, the people say it is, but come on, you're not paying that kind of money for it normally. So maybe if she had just been focused on the general counsel side of the job. Shannon McGann, who is the SVP of Government Affairs, $1 million. Mark Bershabach, the SVP of Strategic Business Innovation and Tech, got $1 million. Lawrence Yoon, chief economist, got $817,931. And they all have this number, the plus 56,976 of non-salary compensation. It must be just a general benefit. At first, I thought maybe it was like reimbursed expenses or something, but it sounds like just a general benefit. John Perpon, chief financial officer, $794,000. Mark Gould, $706,000. Donna Gland, SVP of Talent Development, $657,000. Victoria Gillespie, chief marketing officer, $524,000. Nakia Wright, who is now the CEO. She was only making $427,000 at the time, but I guess she's been lofted up to the $3 million number. Tracy Casper, NAR president, $281,000. Kevin Sears, first vice president at the time, was $226,000. And Kenny Parcell, he was NAR president through 8/28/2023, $220,000. So I guess my point is, at the time, 87% of real estate agents were failing. That's the number. But yet the organization that is the National Association of Realtors, their execs were pulling down millions of dollars altogether. But the lowest numbers, 220. I wonder what the median is. I didn't have time to calculate it, but looking at the numbers somewhere in my head, it's probably around 600,000, which is interesting. And I think this was the time where Kenny Parcell was the president for a very short time. Yeah, this is in there, and it does not include the lavish perks. Oh, but yeah, that's right. Let me share this article too. I know we talked about this in the past, so I'm not going to be on it very long, but chauffeured cars and Broadway tickets inside the National Realtors Group. This article was from the New York Times that talked about some of the lavish benefits that were had by real estate association heads. But as we go back, we remember that this does not include the lavish perks. And of course, much has happened since 2023 wrapped up, including Tracy Casper stepping down as NAR president, succeeded by Kevin Sears. NAR's $418 million settlement was March 15th, 2024. Nakia Wright becoming the permanent CEO August 19th, 2024, 2 days after August 17th. And we all know what happened August 17th. All right, so you could argue, well, it's a gigantic organization. There's a lot to do. I would like to know a day in the life of Bob Goldberg, $3 million a year. I just want to know how does the day in the life of Bob Goldberg compare with the day in the life of a busy real estate agent? It would be an interesting comparison. NAR's independent contractors spend for 2023. Havas Media Group, a marketing and communications, $53 million. It's not exact. I mean, it's $53,838,706, but still. Projection Presentation Technology, a video production and services, $5.9 million. Other independent contractors, legal counsel, Cooley LLP, was $12 million, 12.5. APCO Worldwide, public relations, was $5.7 million. And CSI DMC Inc., event management services, was $3 million. Brian Hershey on Instagram says, "Let's go." What's up, buddy? Thanks, Brian. We had started. It does look like on Instagram that I'm frozen though. So this is the second week in a row that it's frozen the video for me, but I don't think I'm frozen for everyone, or people would generally say it. So I don't know. All right. So NAR executives pulling down millions of dollars, real estate agents struggling. 87% of agents are failing. There was a number, I guess, last year that said 71% of agents don't even sell a house in a year. And yet the National Association of Realtors, which collects all of our dues, those executives are doing pretty well. What's up, Scap? I didn't see you there, bud. Scap, if you're available, I don't know if you are available or not. Does the appraisers, do y'all have like a National Association group? You may not be. You may not be by the phone where you can talk. Oh, no, he just dropped. Never mind. SPD. Oh. Man, I can hear you, but you're not playing through the right thing. So that means that. I don't know. At first it said I couldn't even click on my mic. Hey, hang on just a second. I'm going to try to connect us here. For some reason, my Bluetooth to Clubhouse is not connected, which it says it's connected, but it's not playing through it. So I don't know. Let's try it again. Hang on just a second. I'm going to try to make it play through it. Well, no, again. All right. I'm just going to hold you up to the mic, Scott.
Sounds good. So your question was, do we have like a trade group?
Yeah. The appraisers, y'all don't have a trade group?
Well, we have the Appraisal Institute, but that's like not every appraiser is a member of the Appraisal Institute. They're more about their education and things of that nature. They're more about commercial appraisers. There's been a lot of scandals going on with the Appraisal Institute, but there's nothing that we can like actually join that will advocate for us as appraisers, or that we must join. Not like a NAR. I mean, I know you don't have to
really
join NAR, be a member of NAR, but Appraisal Institute's like the only one. But again, they're like their own little, boys and girls club of their own, and kind of do their things that they want to do and not really advocate for us in general.
How are you guys ever ethical? Like, I don't know if y'all don't have a national organization in which you can pledge a code of ethics. I don't know how anyone would trust an appraisal.
Well, we do have what's called USPAP, the Universal Standards of Professional Appraisal Practices, which is written by the Appraisal Foundation, which is a subsection of the government. So the Appraisal Foundation writes all of our Bible, our rules and regulations, ethics, laws, all that stuff. But that's really all they do. They don't really. They just write the standards for appraisals. They don't advocate for really anything for us, like or take on many issues for us or anything.
Nice. All right. Well, I was curious because Melissa Gordon in the chat says, don't appraisers have state organizations? Do you have state organizations, Scott?
Well, we have state boards, but then there's people that created their own little like coalitions, state coalitions and things like that, which really just don't uphold to anything. They're just like, they're crap. Some states have them, some don't. But there's really, again, there's a lot of smaller little organizations that have come about, but they're not really like recognized by anybody, and they have their own agendas as opposed to like a national, a national agenda for appraisers or
that's interesting
for appraisers.
It kind of gives us a little bit of insight to what it might be like, one day in the future, if there is no National Association of Realtors, or I guess you could say if there's a decentralized National Association of Realtors, which is kind of interesting to think about.
In a way, it sucks that we don't have that as appraisers because of a lot of the issues and things that we have going on. So a lot of people, a lot of these different organizations go along their own way to advocate for their agendas or what they think is good for appraisers. There's no central place that we can really go to combat issues and things. So like if NAR was to say fall, and you didn't really have anybody doing that for you, or at least giving you that backing, you might be able to have states and other things come about, but everybody's going to be against each other. It's going to be, oh, we want this, but we want this, or but we want this. And it's just like a free for all. It really does suck in a way. I mean, it's good in a way because, I'm not forced to join something.
Yeah.
I have to pay dues to them for something I don't believe in. But then at the same time, I don't have anybody to have my back for anything if something goes awry.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's an interesting perspective. Thanks, Cap. Matt, what's up, Matt? Matt _of the West on Instagram says, is 9 a.m. Mountain the new time for tWiRE? It's been a while since I've tuned in. No, unfortunately, if this is your first time tuning in, there's Mike V found us. He said, up early this morning. Yeah, no, I have to go to a conference this afternoon, so I'll be traveling to Tennessee this afternoon. Wanted to be sure I got in the show to cover some of these news articles. So that's what we're doing today. And for whatever reason, I don't have time to fix it, to be honest. So I'm not going to. But for whatever reason, Clubhouse is not connecting through the Roadcaster today. So Clubhouse is. If anyone says anything, I have to bring the phone up. So that's why it sounds a little bit different today. All right, let's look at NAR officially rescinds the commingling rule. No commingling on listings. Never mind. That's the graphic there. So, all right, commingling on listings. What is that? That is when you have a listing that is not listed through a real estate agent, listed side by side along a IDX feed that are only listings from real estate agents. So previously, there was no commingling rule. This was outlined in section 18.3.11 and section 19.23 of NAR's policy handbook. And it allowed MLSs to prohibit brokers from displaying listings on realtor affiliated MLSs alongside listings from other sources. Now, that prohibition is no longer there. So according to NAR's own advisory board, the rule is outdated, no longer aligned with how brokers market listings today. National Association of Realtors Executive Committee repealed the optional non-commingling rule from the MLS policy handbook. The decision was based on feedback about the rule's declining usage and relevance in local marketplaces. I call total BS for the reason it's because they don't want to get sued again. They're just paying $418 million plus legal fee, all kinds of stuff. They don't want to get sued again. They are taking precautions to stay out of court. The rule is a central issue in the now closed antitrust lawsuit by REX against NAR and Zillow. If you recall, Zillow had that other tab, and once they became a broker, Zillow had to have that other tab that said for sale by owner properties here and regular properties or IDX feed here, and they would not list them side by side. Zillow then started listing them side by side. And NAR either had to change the law or change their rule. It wasn't a law, but they either had to change their rule or enforce it. And so they decided to change it instead of taking on Zillow. Which that may be instructive. We'll see what that means kind of long term. But the fact that they weren't going to take on Zillow and say no, you can't do that. But they did say it was optional. So, but I wonder what this is going to do for other brokers. Like, what other feeds are we going to be able to feed into our websites? That's kind of what I want to know. Like, is there another Rex out there or another private listing network that I can feed into my website? Because that's interesting. The advice on Broke Agent Media is talk to your broker or MLS. Any of you that have been in brokerage groups know the talk to your broker before doing anything rule. All right. So, there's another article on Inman about the same thing. NAR overturns the commingling rule. There was one quote from, Matt Consalvo, CEO of Arizona Regional MLS, ARMLS, and a member of the Multiple Listing Services Issues and Policies Committee. They told Inman that he doesn't like NAR's optional rules. He also believes that removing the non-commingling rule provides brokers greater clarity. He says, quote, when brokers operate in multiple MLSs and there are optional rules, it confuses them because the MLS may adopt something that another MLS may not. And that's a good point. If you have multiple feeds coming from MLSs and there's another MLS that somehow picks up another feed and starts listing stuff that's not necessarily in their MLS or something weird like that, then your website is technically not compliant with one of the other MLS's rules. So getting rid of it is probably a good idea. All right, next up. NAR also changes the code of ethics language on harassment and hate speech, which I think, was it last week when we covered this? Rob Hahn said, good news, NAR changed its immoral, unethical, and likely illegal speech code 10-5. But how did they change it? Is it a significant enough change to satisfy everyone? Or is there, there's always somebody that doesn't like it, but on Thursday, the NAR Board of Directors voted to ratify changes to the Standard and Practice 10-5, SOP 10-5, a professional standards policy statement 29, both tied to Article 10 of the Code of Ethics, which addresses fair housing and equal opportunity. The vote, 624 voted in favor of the changes, 248 opposed them. The decision updates the language around harassment and clarifies when the policy applies. So the language, as NAR President Kevin Sears explained, NAR continually assesses and, when appropriate, amends the Code of Ethics to ensure specific rules are clear in their language and intent and can be can be enforced fairly and consistently. Consistent with their deep commitment to upholding principles of fair housing and equal treatment for all consumers, these amendments provide clarity to our members, reduce risk for the state and local associations enforcing the Code of Ethics, and bring Article 10 in line with similar requirements applied by other large trade organizations. So what changed exactly? According to the newly ratified policy, realtors, in their capacity as real estate professionals, in association with their real estate business, or in their real estate related activities, shall not harass a person or persons based on race, color, religion, sex, disability, familial status, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender identity. And the revised definition of harassment is now unwelcome behavior directed at an individual or group based on one or more of the above protected characteristics, where the purpose or effect of the behavior is to create a hostile, abusive, or intimidating environment which adversely affects their ability to access equal professional services or employment opportunities. So I guess you could say, the biggest case of this was somebody publishing or putting on their Facebook page a Bible verse that was against homosexuality. Some people took offense to that and complained. This is like 9 years ago when it was on his Facebook page. But I guess the complaint was maybe more recent. I don't think it was 9 years ago when the complaint happened because 10-5 was in place, was it? But anyway, as that started to go through the courts, now somebody can do that, but they couldn't do that on their business Facebook page. I think that's the difference, right? In their capacity as real estate professionals in association with the real estate business or in real estate related activities, they shall not harass any person or persons based on race, color, religion, sex, disability, familial status, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender identity. So, I think that puts it more in line, what they said, it puts it more in line with other national organizations. I don't think anyone was trying, I can't think of another national organization or company that's trying to make people do something on their personal time. I know people that have been fired for doing stuff on their personal Instagrams or something like that was just totally, it was terrible. And so they got fired at work because that stuff made rounds. But I think with a big national organization like we have, it's just not conducive to enforcing. That's just so many lawsuits all the time. And so these two, the commingling rule and changing 10-5, it signals to me that the National Association of Realtors is more allergic to court than they have been in a long time. They're just they're saying, no, we're out. So then the article is a good article. It looks back at 10-5. Robert Hahn says in his post, quote, good news, NAR changes it's immoral, unethical, and likely illegal speech code 10-5. Now NAR needs to make restitution to those who are unjustly harmed and persecuted under 10-5 and punish those who weaponize it against them. All right, so what do you guys think? Does it go far enough? Is it not far enough? Where are we? So drop it in the comments. Let me know, especially if you're watching the replay today, because I know a lot of you aren't able to join live like normal. So just attack the comments. It kind of gets wild in the comments sometimes. So feel free. What's up, Amanda? Real Zito just joined on Instagram. All right, California broker. Oh, wait, I forgot to share this. There you go. California broker challenges NAR rule over dues for non-members. Modesto broker John Diaz took aim at NAR, CAR, and two local organizations for the creation and enforcement of the variable dues formula, which he claims is illegal and anti-competitive. So the California broker is the latest to take on the National Association of Realtors in court, which I just said they were allergic to court, and yet here we go. But what this will probably mean is another policy change, to be honest. California, John Diaz, broker in Modesto, took aim at NAR's variable dues policy. Diaz complaint listed in the Lodi Association of Realtors, Central Valley Association of Realtors, California Association of Realtors, and National Association of Realtors as defendants. Under the VDF is what we'll call the variable dues formula. A broker member of realtor associations is required to pay dues not only for themselves and their licensed agents, but also for every non-member licensee in the firm, regardless of whether those agents join the Realtor Association for their area. The complaint states that the three organizations provided a valuable service to the real estate professional market, such as key access to listed properties, fillable forms, and disclosures. However, defendants also require brokers to pay dues for their licensees who are non-members of the defendant associations. And the complaint's alleging that the this is anti-competitive and a violation of federal antitrust. Adam Johnson over on Facebook, what's up, man? He said it also infringes on our constitutional freedoms and was a horrible rule. Oh, 10-5. Sorry, I'm a little late at getting to your comment. I'm guessing basically nobody was harmed yet. Well, so the people that Robert Hahn was talking about that were harmed were people that the 10-5 was used against, saying, hey, you can't say this, and they were kicking them out of NAR. So there were some. Billie Jean says, personally, what value does any rule have if there are no consequences or accountability? What's up, Billie Jean? Adam says, watch NAR lose 50% of their membership in 5 years as MLS associations and brokerages stop requiring membership. I mean, I don't see how they can continue to require you to be a member of NAR if you want to be in the local board, or how they can require you to be a member of NAR if what you want to do is just have access to the MLS. That is an interesting conversation going forward. What it sounds like is happening in California is that brokers have to pay a certain amount in dues according to how many agents they have, whether those agents are members of NAR or not. So the rule that he's talking about in this article was adopted in 1972. He said it also blocks brokers' ability to hire sales agents who choose not to join state or local organizations. Yeah, that's the one that you're talking about, Adam. I think that's got to be changed. They are licensed sales agents, but not realtors because they do not want to join NAR associations, such as the defendants associations, because of the financial burden that results from the fees they charge. Okay, well, we'll see what happens with it. I agree with you, Adam. I think the forced membership rule is going to go away. I bet this variable, what's it called again? Variable dues formula policy. I bet that's going to go away. And it wouldn't surprise me if this just doesn't really go anywhere in court. They just say, oh, okay, let's fix that right now. Because I just feel like based on these other two rules, the end of the commingling and the ending of the hate speech and the ending of the commingling, I just think NAR wants to stay out of court. So, which is a good use of their time, not being in court. That's probably wise. All right, so drop it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think over on YouTube, especially. Drop in the comments. What do you think the getting rid of the commingling rule will impact the real estate market? How is it going to impact it? If you're a broker, what are you looking forward to? What about the hate speech thing? The change in that, is that going to make a big impact? I don't feel like that's a huge impact other than just having fewer lawsuits. I think they're going to have an equal number of complaints, and they're just not going to go anywhere with it because they're going to say, well, that was on his personal Instagram. He's not acting in the capacity of a real estate agent. That's the kind of stuff that you're going to see. All right, let's get into the market. Investors are selling a record share of homes to cut their losses, especially in these 5 states. The Midwest and South are the most investor sellers. So of all 50 states, Missouri and Oklahoma saw the highest share of investor sales in 2024 at 16.7%, each up 0.5% and 1.7% from 2023. That's not a gigantic jump. Georgia came a close second, with investors making up 15.9%, followed by Kansas at 4.3%, Utah at 4.3 or 14.3. I'm sorry. Kansas at 14.3, Utah at 14.3. And overall, 13% of homes purchased in 2024 were snapped up by investor buyers, only slightly up from 12.7 the year before. So a lot of investors are offloading the properties. It looks like investors buy more than they sell in most states, except for California. There's a lot going on in California now. A closer look at investor hotspots show that of the 50 largest metro markets, Memphis, Tennessee, Oklahoma City, St. Louis, Kansas City, Missouri, and Birmingham, Alabama saw the highest investor buyer shares. Interesting. All right. So a couple of years ago, we were talking about how investors were buying more property and people were all mad about it. Now people are going to be mad about investors dumping property on the market because it's going to impact those sellers. So they can't win for losing. They're adding inventory to the market. Isn't that a good thing? But not if you're a seller. Hey, what's up, Vince? Vince Kleinicht says, ultimately, I see the MLS becoming utility. That's interesting. Like a government utility, or like a co-op type of thing, Vince. Adam Johnson says, when 50% of your members sell 0 to 1 homes in a year, NAR is slow rolling its decline. The non-production agents pay for NAR. Yeah, I concur, and that's in part where the image came for the thumbnail today. All right, let's look at what's happening. U.S. home sellers are sitting on nearly $700 billion worth of listings, an all-time high. We talked about this a little bit last week, but I just wanted to show this chart again so I could zoom in so you guys can see. We are at an all-time high. So this is way beyond normal values. But one of the reasons why I want to show this again is because someone said, didn't you say inventory was at an all-time high? And no, it's not. Inventory is not. The value of homes on the market are. So if you have had a rapid increase in the value of homes in the past 3 and 5 years, and then you have more homes than normal sitting on the market, then this is one of the most obvious statistics in the world. So I just wanted to revisit it because of the DMs I got from people being like, what's going to happen? There's more homes than ever on the market. There are not. That's not it. The value of the homes listed on the market are higher than ever, but that's because real estate has gone up for years and years and years. All right, back over here. Some would-be home sellers are stepping back as the market tilts toward buyers. So now you have, because you have an influx of sellers on the market, you have some sellers saying, you know what, we were just kind of wanting to sell, but we don't have to sell. So those sellers are taking a step back. The buyers are stepping into it, but not a huge number. We still need more buyers. Let's see. New listings of U.S. homes for sale rose 6.3% year over year during the 4 weeks ending June 1st. It's one of the smallest increases in the last 3 months. New listings declined year over year. 11 of the 50 most populous metros, with the biggest drops in San Jose, and 4 Florida metros: Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, and West Palm Beach. Zoning in recent weeks, new listings fell during the second half of May. While it's typical for listings to decline after peaking in mid-May, this year's drop was the biggest in that time period in a decade. So that is interesting. We usually try to take a little vacation towards the end of May because there's just a whole dip in the market when everyone starts to think about getting off school and all that jazz. There's just not a ton going on, and that happened. I'm going to move this one to this part. I just feel like it's more apropos to just talk now. Wait, not that one. This one. Mortgage demand rises to the highest level in over a month after a holiday adjustment. So mortgage interest rates barely moved at all last week, but demand from home buyers, as well as those looking to refinance current home loans, increased. And this is what I'm talking about. Towards the last couple of weeks of May, you see that little dip, the seasonal dip. It's not a huge dip, but it's notable. And then after that, people kind of come right back into the market, make those mortgage applications as they're thinking, okay, we need to find something this summer before school. So you always see an increase there. Coming out of the Memorial Day holiday, mortgage applications increased to the highest level in over a month, Joel Kahn said. He's a vice president and deputy chief economist at the Mortgage Bankers Association. Treasury rates saw some movement during the week, which resulted in additional opportunities for buyers. Applications to refi rose 16%. Applications to purchase climbed 10% and were 20% higher than the same week a year ago. Khan says, despite ongoing uncertainty surrounding the economy, home buyers seem to be taking advantages of loosening housing inventory in certain markets. Yeah, I would say that's pretty much what we're seeing here too. All right, last 2 articles. There are 7 major metros where you can still buy a luxury home for less than $1 million. 5 years ago, there were 30. That's a pretty drastic decrease. Major U.S. metros where you could buy a luxury home for less than $1 million. You can see the decline from, it's kind of insignificant, right? It's fairly even. 2013, 14, 15, 16, and 17, there were 35 metros. So there wasn't much happening there. And then 2018, 32. 31 in 2019, 30 in 2020. So they're going down by one, down by one, down by one. And then 2021, there was only 24. 2022, there was only 16. But what is interesting about this to me is during the COVID times, we did see a huge jump in the number of people wanting to buy a home, but we also saw a huge jump in the number of people wanting to move outside of major metros. But the number of people that were willing to move into other areas or outside it had almost no impact on the folks that were willing to move into those major metros and pay way more for the homes, thereby increasing the average cost for a home, increasing the luxury, quote unquote, luxury home price point. So now there's only 7 left. So the question is, what are those 7? Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, St. Louis, Cincinnati, and San Antonio. I mean, maybe Little Rock is not a major metro, but you could definitely get luxury for less than $1 million a year. I guess we're just not considered a major metro. That would be the only reason why we're not on that list. It has to be, because you can get, I mean, we have a castle right now listed for $600,000, a literal castle with 2 or 3 secret doors. And it's only $600,000 on some land. So you could get a lot for your dollar in Arkansas. 3 in 4 U.S. homeowners would rather be home than anywhere else. I thought this was interesting statistics to talk about as real estate agents. Homeowners would rather be home than anywhere else, feel a sense of belonging in the neighborhood. How much do you agree or disagree with the statement below? My current home is a reflection of who I am. 69% said they agree. Nice. My home is the only place I can relax. 68%. My home is the only place I can get a good night's sleep. 68%. I would rather be home than anywhere else. 74%. I feel a sense of belonging in my neighborhood. 64%. I wish we had data from like the 1990s and 80s on this stuff, because I would love to know what people thought back then. I would rather be home than anywhere else. Did they feel like that at that time too? Or is this a huge jump in the number of people that would rather be home? They have a whole bunch of other statistical information that I thought was less interesting. The top part I thought was the most interesting stuff on this. So put it on your Instagrams. Ask your people. Oh, Adam, sorry, I kept your comment up the whole time. Adam said, we're hurting for listings at and below our median sales price. My mortgage guy says his pre-approval rate is up, but the buyers aren't in a realistic price point. People are getting approved for $200K in an area where the median sales price of $330 and stuff like that. Yeah, we're seeing that too. I think it may be great timing for investors, to be honest. I mean, the ones that aren't just sitting there thinking, okay, I'm gonna make a killing on this deal, and trying to. I mean, I know all investors want to maximize what they make. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there's a huge market right now for the light remodel, for someone that can go in, get a good deal on a property because of the increased inventory, do a light flip, change some flooring, countertops, cabinetry, paint, clean up the yard, and then put it right back on the market fairly quickly at a fair price. You're going to get a lot of buyers for those types of properties right now. So, because it's going to be in the bottom 1/3 of the market, there's not much for them to choose from. Anything they do find won't qualify for most of the, loan types that they are able to qualify for because of the condition of the property, or they can't take on the condition of the property because they don't have any cash reserves. So I think there is a market for it, but what I'm seeing from a lot of investors is they're still coming in with these unrealistic price points at what they can acquire these properties for. It's just not real. Maybe they'll find one, but if they want to make a business out of it and do multiple flips, I had a guy call me yesterday and he was like, "Hey, I'm going to offer, $70,000. It's like a $200,000 property." I'm like, "Well," I said, "No." He said, "Will you present it to the seller?" I said, "No, I'd buy it for 100. He was like, "What?" I said, "Look, the house is priced right. So if you're going to offer 70 and they were thinking about taking that, I would just pay 100 and buy it before you." And the investor was like, "Oh, I'm like, come on, think about it." And he's like, "Well, I mean, we could negotiate." I was like, "No, I'm taking that deal." I said, "But I'll let you know if they change their mind." But I mean, you have to, it's a totally unrealistic price point, but it's based on some kind of seminar that the guy went to, and he's got some spreadsheet that tells him this is the price that he needs to pay. Those guys are just not real, and there's no real market for that here. But a home that is not in good shape or that is distressed, either personally or with the market or with the home itself, you can get a great deal on that property. You can go way under market on that property, potentially get it, fix it up, put it back on the market, and have a nice little investment that somebody can then come in and purchase, with a VA loan or FHA loan or something like that. Maverick Home Group says the rest of the country is starting to feel what Florida has been feeling for the past few months. Yeah, for different reasons, but I can see that. Maverick Home Group says buyers are getting pre-approved, but the median sell price has risen so much they can't buy homes. Yeah. Adam Johnson said nice homes don't get significant more than marginal homes. Yeah, because of the compression of what someone is able to buy due to the high rates, Adam, you're right. I think when those rates change, that's when you're going to see those homes that are in better condition skyrocket. I mean, it's going to go way up because those are definitely in demand and people really want them. Maverick Home Group says, shake my head, is that ridiculous? Do you think they can pick it up at 50% off the price? No. It's not gonna, like I said, it's not gonna happen, or I would do it. I told this to an investor a long time ago who was he just kept lowballing everyone. I was like, look, I mean, you're the client. I'm gonna do what you tell me to do ultimately. But I said, you realize you're helping all these guys sell without you. He was like, what do you mean? I said, think about it. The agent has been telling them for months that they need to lower their price, lower your price, lower your price. And the guy's like, well, once we get an offer, we'll see. I said, now you're sending these unrealistic offers. And the seller's like, well, I guess we should lower our price. So they're going to lower their price to what their agent's been telling them to for a long time. And then they're going to finally sell. Or the agent's going to say, hey, if you're tempted to take this 50% off offer, just lower your price a little bit and it will sell on the market for way more than that. And so I said, what we're doing here in making all these lowball offers is helping those agents and helping those sellers get to a more realistic price point, and you're going to miss the deal. And he was like, well, what would you suggest? I said, make a more realistic offer. I mean, that's how you play the game. All right. Adam Johnson said, in the same area and size, they only get deals from ripping off old ladies and people in bad situations. Yeah. Well, all right. So people in bad situations, not necessarily a ripoff if they can free them from that situation by helping to purchase the home. But yeah, there are definitely wholesalers out there that are ripping off the old ladies, which in Arkansas, they almost tried to outlaw wholesaling altogether because it was bad. There were bad actors in the area. A couple of seminars come through and everyone thinks they're a real estate investor with no money. So that's what happens. I'm not going to name names, but we all know. All right, guys. Well, that's it for the stream today. I appreciate you tuning in early, and thanks for the comments that we did have. Thanks for you guys dropping by 2 hours early for the show. That is, again, because I'm headed to the Booked and Branded conference this week. I'll be speaking there. So I know some of you have messaged me and said you're going to be there. So I'm excited to meet y'all. Adam Johnson said, I haven't met an honest wholesaler. I have. I've met a couple that are actually legit. They were pretty good, and they were fine. But I've only met like 2 or 3, I would say. The others are just, I mean, hey, sir, we have this property listed and I want you to sell it. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not going to, you're telling the seller that it's going to sell at, 100,000 and you're wanting me to list it at 150. Don't you think the seller is going to look at does it make sense? All right. Well, thanks guys for tuning in. I can't find my tunes. Let me try it again. Yeah, there it is. And I'm going to have to change this tune too, because it keeps getting spiked on the copyright and I have rights to this song. So I keep having to fight it every single week. So I'll be changing some stuff. If you're in the book club, we will be announcing the next book next week. So we'll probably have a little meeting, get together and talk about it. But hopefully at the beginning of next week, you'll know the next book that we're doing in the book club. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just find me on Instagram, Razorback, RAYZORBACK, and send me a message and ask me about the book club if you want to join it. We just take these really good business books and apply them to our lives and business. That's what we're doing. And we do that together. It's a fun time. So we all get on a big Zoom call. If you're interested in joining that, let me know. All right, thanks. I'll see you guys next week, hopefully at our regularly scheduled broadcast. So it's normally 12 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Eastern. So I'll see you all next week. Bye, everybody.